Imagine a giant ladder with a lot of steps, and imagine that every step has a group of people living on it. They do not mingle with each other, they stay to themselves, and each group has its own water, has its own pond to bathe in, has its own temple to pray in. You'd wonder why. For Bhim, his childhood and the world around him seemed like that ladder, and he too wondered why. As he started to grow up, he realized that this imaginary ladder had a name, caste. There were higher castes and there were lower castes. Bhim was a Mahar, a low caste. In fact, he was an untouchable, which means that other castes would not even touch him. It was the lowest step. But even as a child, Bhim had big ideas. He wanted to study, he wanted to read books, he wanted to go to school, and he would pester his parents to send him. His father was in the army. This was during the time of the British rule in India, and because of which he had managed to send all his children to school. And he and his wife, they knew what little Bhim would face when he would go to school, the trouble that he would have to go to. He would have to carry his own seat, a gunny bag on which to sit. He would not be allowed to touch anything in the school, and none of the teachers would touch anything of his, not even his slate. He would have to sit in one corner away from all the other children. And even if he was thirsty, he would have to wait for the peon to come and pour water into his hands so that his hands would not touch the pot. But for little Bhim, none of that mattered. He just wanted to study. The only silver lining, if you may say so, was one of his teachers who was really fond of Bhim, Mahadev. In fact, what Mahadev did was he went and in the school records changed Bhim's surname, and it became a high caste surname, Ambedkar. So from Ambedkar, it became Ambedkar because of this one teacher. That kept Bhim going. Then Bhim and his family shifted to Bombay, now Mumbai. And even here, he was in one of the best schools, but he was still an untouchable. The big city gave him the same treatment. Nevertheless, he kept studying, kept persisting, and he did so well that by the time he got done with college, he had a scholarship to go and study in America. And that is where he discovered true freedom. He was an equal to everyone. He could go anywhere, he could sit anywhere, he could eat and drink with anyone, and nobody treated him like an untouchable. He came back to India, and here it was again the same story. He got a job, and the peons, they would throw files and papers at him so that they would not have to touch him. He could not even find a place. At work, no one would follow his orders. He struggled for days to find a house because he was an untouchable, even in the big city. He decided to join a college and teach there. He was brilliant. His students loved him. But all the other teachers, they still continued to treat his brilliance, his intelligence, his hard work with indifference. They stayed away, called him an untouchable who was trying to go beyond the step that he was supposed to be on. And all he could do was wonder why. But at some point he decided he was not just going to, sit by the side and watch. He decided to take action. He started writing a weekly magazine where he started talking about caste, and he started talking about the evils of the caste system, but not much changed. It continued, and finally he realized that he had to get justice for himself and his family and his people. So he decided to go abroad to UK to study law. What happened once he came back from London? That and more is part of this beautiful, wonderful story called The Boy Who Asked Why by Sowmya Rajendran, with beautiful illustrations by Satwik Gade. But do you know who the story is based upon? It's based upon the father of our constitution, the constitution that we're all proud of, Babasaheb Ambedkar, Bhimrao Ambedkar. Let me take you through a little more of this book. So this is little Bhim as he is mesmerized by knowledge and books and goes to his parents and asks them that he be sent to school. But you know what happens to him in school, don't you? In school, he has to, sit on the side, but it does not matter, because for him, education, knowledge, wanting to know more, wanting to understand why is this happening to him and to his people is far more important than all the trouble that he has to face. And the troubles don't stop. Water, is an issue. Even in order to have water, he has to wait for the peon. In fact, on the day that the peon was not in school, the Bhim would have to wait the entire day till he reached back home, and he would stay thirsty. But he never gave up. And that's the teacher that gave him the surname Ambedkar, that we all today know him by, Babasaheb Rao Ambedkar. And much more transpired. He kept studying. He kept asking why to everyone around him. No one was able to answer it. He did not know whether there was another way, up until he landed in the US. And that is where he discovered that equality is not just possible, it is a reality. His people did not have it, but abroad, in many parts of the world, everyone was treated as an equal. And that lit up in his heart the desire to do the same for his people. He came back, and nothing had changed in his country. Here in India, it was still the same. He was highly educated. He had come back from abroad, but still he was treated like an untouchable. He struggled for every single thing that others would not even have to think about. Finally, he had enough. He decided that the fight would have to be taken to another level. He decided to, like I had mentioned, decided to go to the UK to study law. And that is why when he came back, he created what became the constitution of our nation, and what we today are proud of. It happened because he persevered, because he refused to give up, because he decided that he and his fellow people deserved to be equal. And today, whatever equality we have around us is because of him and people like him. To go through this entire book, this wonderful story, go to getlitt.co, find this book, The Boy Who Asked Why, and go through it and get inspired. My name is Saurin Desai. I'm your storyteller. Thank you.